Good morning, and thank you for your time today. My name is Jeannie Biggs, and I'm presenting on behalf of Group 10 today with regards to wasteful food packaging within the Australian supermarket industry. Today I'll be discussing what it entails, the issues involved, a systemic and systematic analysis of food packaging, and recommending solutions to assist in sustainable development, both now and in the future. Everything must go somewhere. Commoner's metaphor creates the philosophical foundation to this presentation on the sustainability of Australian packaging used across our supermarkets. Plastics became available to humanity less than 70 years ago, and it was created to last up to 100 years. Today we are using plastic, non-biodegradable materials containing synthetic polymers for as little as a few minutes, or from supermarket shelf to home refrigerators. Australian companies have started to report upon their sustainable development practices in response to increasing demands to be more sustainable and meet its corporate social responsibility. Supermarkets today have begun implementing new SD practices such as the reusable bag movement and improved packaging and recycling guides. These actions seem on the surface to be positive progress toward the UN SDGs for Australia, particularly SDG 12, Sustainable Consumption and Production. A systemic and systematic analysis on supermarket practices will reveal if Australian supermarkets can become more sustainable now and into the future. Despite what seems like progress on SD in some supermarket areas, we are also seeing increased packaging options such as plastic packaging containing chopped fruit and vegetables, plastic trays, or wrapping and plastic bags for fresh produce. Are Australia's supermarkets today really seeing the big picture of what consumers want, or are they operating within a marketing myopia? The innovative nude food movement commenced in 2010 within education systems, and due to consumer demand, our supermarkets are catching up on response. Education is key motivator to consumer choice. SDG 4, particularly 4.7. A glimpse into suitable frameworks which may better support supermarket SD, such as circular economy, will be presented. Australia is currently in a waste crisis. Most soft plastics are likely to end up in landfill, or worse, our land and sea. Effective solutions are needed quickly. The important question which remains is, can our supermarkets become more sustainable through improved SD practices, education and consumer options? Because there is no way. Commoner's 4 laws. Holistically, the consideration of sustainability and single-use packaging used across our supermarkets provokes social and ecological mayhem by disregarding the interconnectedness of wasteful packaging in day-to-day products. This notion focuses on Commoner's first law of interconnectedness. The second law indicates that the applied ignorance of continuing, and in some instance increasing, single-use packaging results in the build-up of harmful amounts of toxic material in an ecosystem where they do not belong. The third law, nature knows best, is personification of the lunacy of the creation of single-use packaging in our supermarkets. Nature has already created and provided a perfect packaging option on its own. There is no need to improve upon it. And finally, Commoner's fourth law, there is no such thing as a free lunch, is a layman's explanation that there will be consequences which cannot be avoided. Those consequences are often delayed, and the current environmental crisis demonstrates this warning has fallen on deaf ears. The UN's recognition of the interconnectedness builds on Commoner's laws. This interconnectedness is outlined in the 17 SDGs, which are focused on environmental, economic and social dimensions. The interconnectedness of the SDGs in the context of sustainable packaging, particularly SDG 12 and SDG 4, demonstrates that progress in one focus area through a complex entwined chain will impact another. Furthermore, the interconnectedness of the SDGs is important to consider. especially for the marketing of goods and services. Marketing myopia was a concept termed by Theodore Levitt in the 60s. In short, marketing myopia is where businesses focus more on selling their product rather than considering what the consumer needs for that product are. It is an extremely short-sighted approach, however, usually does deliver growth in a shortened time. This practice is broadly unsustainable as it focuses purely on the business needs and not the needs of the customer. Given the sustainability framework premise is interconnectedness and there is no way, this form of marketing and business focus needs to be addressed. This, interestingly, is also not in the spirit of CSR, to which many of Australian large companies report upon their activities favourably. In the context of plastic packaging holistically and the specific relationship with SDG 12, Goal 5, by 2030, substantially reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling and reuse. Supermarkets need to innovatively find a way to reduce plastic packaging of foodstuffs and ensure changes are undertaken with a broad view. In order to address our waste crisis, a systemic and systematic analysis of supermarkets has found that Australian households throw away $5.2 billion worth of food and waste. That's 616 per household each year. This equates to approximately 22 million tonnes of waste for landfills annually across the country, equating to around 1 tonne per person per year. This makes Australia's level of waste generation per capita one of the highest in the world. While supermarkets aren't exclusively to blame, they exercise significant control over all parts of the food system, acting as the gatekeepers between food producers and consumers by use of contracts and specifications, even setting packaging requirements for fresh produce suppliers. As the image reveals, retailers are positioned towards the end of the supply life cycle. However, significant environmental impact has already been generated from transportation, manufacturing and packaging before food even reaches the supermarket shelves. Importantly, this means that influencing supermarkets to develop clear sustainable practices that align with UN-endorsed Sustainable Development Goals is critical to long-term change. For the last 150 years, the linear economic model of extracting raw materials and manufacturing goods to be sold, used and disposed of, as revealed, has been profitable and successful. However, it depletes natural resources and, as mentioned, creates enormous quantities of waste. An alternative is a circular economic model that seeks to design products and materials with multiple predefined loop cycles, such as recycle, reuse, and/or repair. Despite the circular economic model focusing predominantly on durable goods, there are questions as to viability of application to fast-moving consumables such as those sold at supermarkets. The seminal work of Kuzmina focuses on implementing a circular economy model for fast-moving consumables, and after conducting an exhaustive study, determined that it was possible, however unlikely, unless consumers develop a number of behaviours, such as living in a world without supermarkets, in order to support circular-minded stores, amongst other behavioural changes. This finding further supports the need for both consumer education, incentive and supermarket change. While 96% of consumers agree that companies should take more initiatives to limit plastic waste and extend recycling, the study conducted by Magniera and Schulmans revealed that consumers use packaging appearance to evaluate products and brands, particularly for fast-moving consumable goods. While introducing sustainable packaging options and incorporating ecological design for products seems logical, only a handful of companies are demonstrating initiative. The nude food movement certainly demonstrates that consumers' drive for both attractive and ecological friendly supermarket options can be successfully implemented. This evidence further supports that for true CSR and lasting SDG progression at all levels, supermarkets from supply chain to customer must be holistically addressed and consistent in practices. In line with this evidence, we recommend the following. As based on worldwide supermarket trials that have seen both positive ecological and consumer outcomes, there are many options. For the Australian context, these include 1. Adopting similar programs to the Food and the Nude, as successfully trialled by New Zealand supermarket chain New World, which uses refrigerated shelving to keep food fresher for longer without plastic packaging. This innovative initiative has also led to increases in vegetable sales, making it beneficial for both consumers, supermarkets, and CSR. The nude food movement has also adopted strong educational foundations, leading to reinforced consumer decision-making for sustainable outcomes. 2. Encouraging manufacturers to provide produce in sustainable packaging, such as the biodegradable packaging from Foodstuffs or Marks & Spencer. These organisations both aim to have fully reusable, recyclable or compostable packaging by 2025. Other biodegradable sustainable packaging options which should be encouraged include stone paper packaging and composting wrapping. 3. McGarity and Wojcik suggest that education on waste producing and wasteful practices in food is essential. Therefore, this should be provided by supermarkets for their food manufacturers in regards to their packaging practices and for consumers with respect to general attitudes on food or packaging wastage. Consumer education undertaken alongside all recommendations will create supermarket SD practices with a more holistic approach for effective and lasting change. In conclusion, supermarkets in Australia currently appear to operate with a myopic view when it comes to how they can contribute to sustainability and the environment. They have, in some instances, begun the path towards becoming a more sustainable industry, such as the recent plastic bag ban, but appear to be also using it for financial gain or alongside a marketing ploy. Whatever the motive, the big picture is not in line with SD or CSR. Initiatives such as banning plastic bags initially appear to be a great start, but offsetting that with plastic pollution in other areas of the organisation, such as mini collectibles, shows that most supermarkets in Australia have not fully developed a sustainable business model as others around the world have begun. The conclusion from this research is that supermarkets are moving in a positive direction towards sustainable options in Australia, but they have not yet adopted a holistic approach across their organisations to ensure they are contributing to sustainable development in multiple integrated ways. If supermarkets continue to focus on purely short-term financial gains, they will become less sustainable over the coming years. However, as proven in many countries around the world, the supermarket industry in Australia can implement a variety of viable options that will not only ensure they become more sustainable, but will help contribute to many of the targets in the SDGs, particularly number 12, and further enhanced through SDG 4. This may not be a short-term or straightforward process, but it has been proven that it is possible and therefore is achievable for supermarkets in Australia. Only when systemic and systematic changes in supermarket SD practices are integrated alongside consumer education can effectively progress towards SD and true CSR be made. The positive long-term results for the environment and the survival of all living life on this planet cannot afford any more myopia because, as we know, there is no free lunch. Thank you for your time today and for listening to our presentation on Group 10, Wasteful Food Packaging.